Gonk, 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 gonk. Gonk. Gonk, gonk, gonk. Gonk, 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 gonk.
What? What? Gonk said that things are broken, and he was very mad. He kept trying to fix them.
You had an extra week, Gonk.
He did, and he broke.
He doesn't succeed with extra time.
Sorry, guys. Gonk tried to fix our countdown timers, and it didn't work. So instead, we're here early. Welcome, everybody.
It's on your side. It's on my. It's on your side.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wave Squadron with Badonkagonk. We are here to talk about Star Wars with all of you guys. Likely taking some questions at some points throughout the podcast, in which Eric is probably going to say, we'll get to all of them.
Every single one.
We'll see what happens. But if you're on Twitch, make sure you use your channel points and submit some questions.
Yeah.
Gonk will probably have a Q&A section set up over on YouTube. And when that's opened up, you guys can use that as well. So,
and I believe, Aaron will correct me if I'm wrong, but because sometimes we plan this stuff telepathically. We actually don't even talk about Star Wars. We just know we're going to get there. We're going to be talking about changes we would make to KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic.
I think changes and things we want to keep, right?
Yeah,
like
changes.
Both of those.
Yeah, things that you want to keep. How would you do the remake if you were in charge? Maybe if you guys want to have some suggestions for that, we can talk about that during that section.
Yeah, we'll check in on the question stuff as we go through some of these segments that we have to talk about. But yeah, what kind of things would you want to keep? What kind of things do you think that you don't need anymore? I want to ask a few questions and just have some discussions on some of that stuff too.
I'm super excited for that.
It'll be interesting.
What do you want to do first?
Now, there may be some spoilers in the KOTOR section.
There will be spoilers.
But I did just finally beat KOTOR for the first real time. Hopefully you were able to join me for that because it was a lot of fun. It's been like a month and a half. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of May. It was before the subathon, which that also added like another week to my my month there. I lost track of how time was moving there. So, but yeah, we have the book to talk on. The Force Collector. I was gonna say Bone Collector. That's something else.
Yes.
I also was wanting to talk to Eric. We got to play Fortnite a little bit last Friday.
I've only played Fortnite twice. The first time was as Clone Troopers, and this time was as a Clone Trooper. You guys were Mandos, but I still have my Clone Trooper, and I loved him.
Dude, they had taken those out of the shops. Maybe we can talk about the Fortnite stuff first. Yeah. But they had the Fortnite event.
The Fortnite event, yes.
For Star Wars. They had the whole month of May was like a small season all around Star Wars.
I mean, like it or not, Fortnite is important to Star Wars, right? Like, they had Emperor Palpatine say his speech on Fortnite, on that platform.
They did.
For
whatever reason. For whatever reason it was.
For whatever reason.
But no, the Mandalorian skin was one of my favorites because you could customize it to look how you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
They took it down like a few days before we played, but then they brought it back up like last Saturday for the final day. And I was like, dang it, I wish I could have gotten it for you guys, but no. We got to play a little bit. You got to see a few things. One of my favorite things they added for like the final week was the Star Destroyer, which we did get to do.
That was devastating, as it should be.
Yeah. Just the bombardment. Yeah. You could destroy anything you wanted to, and I thought that was really cool. They had a lot of different lightsabers and stuff too, but one of the other new things they added, they almost always have like boss battles and stuff where you can land and you fight like an NPC, and sometimes they'll join your team, sometimes you can just get their weapons, medallions, like different perks and stuff. And one of them this time was Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty cool.
And I was wondering, like, if you had any thoughts on like the Darth Vader AI, and then I also had a clip that I was gonna have Gonk show as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, the Darth Vader AI is the thing that was utilized in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, right? Like James Earl Jones obviously didn't voice Vader there, and they used that AI model, and it sounded just like it. And I gotta admit, like, there are some baller lines that he says in that, that. Like, the weakness still remains, like, it's so good.
Yeah.
So it kind of, for me at the very least, that kind of got over the hump of, like, the weirdness that AI voices can sometimes make. Sure. And to be fair, I'm not kind of going into the ethics of AI, just, like, how much did it convince me. So I think because I got convinced during the Obi-Wan thing, like, seeing it in Fortnite here, I just kind of, like, accepted. I'm like, yep, that's what that is.
Sure.
And
I get the ethics idea. Like, I wouldn't want to just, like, here's a new character and it sounds like a James Earl Jones voice.
Yeah.
I think I might be more biased on the idea of, like, this voice is James Earl Jones and it's been James Earl Jones, So like, to have more Vader, I like it being James.
Yeah.
But if you just brought in, say it's not even Star Wars, say it was, they just announced Spaceballs, say they were going to bring in that, I wouldn't want, well, we're going to use his voice randomly as a character in that,
Yeah.
It's kind of the same way I felt about the talk of a new movie with, what was it, James Dean? And they were going to put him in that movie, and I was like, oh, is it like a sequel for something he was in before? It's like, no, it's just a new movie, and they wanted it to be James Dean. And I'm like, well, that seems weird.
Yeah.
Like, if it was like,
I agree.
Someone if you're wanting him to take the role again, like when we had to do digital makeup for Tarkin in Rogue One, I'm like, oh, it's so cool to see Tarkin there, Like, I like using that. But if you're like, oh, well, I want that Peter Cushing, I want that actor to be someone else in another movie, I'm like, well, just have someone else be that character.
I agree.
And that's kind of where I am with some of those things. So having Vader in the game and being able to like talk to him and stuff, I thought was pretty fun and a neat thing to have.
I didn't realize, like, when you were like, Eric, say something to Vader, and I was like, hey, Vader, are you the Sithari? Like, I didn't realize that. Like, oh no, he actually responds. I thought when I first did it, I was like, yeah, what's his pre-scripted thing gonna be here? I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
But he was like, I do not consider old legends. I'm like, holy crap! Huh. Not only is it an old legend in Legends continuity, but it's Legends continuity. I don't know if the AI thought that deeply, but I certainly did.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how deeply it talked or thought about things.
Yeah.
I played and we talked to Vader a lot during the subathon. And I actually have a clip from during the subathon that I wanted Gonk to open up, and we were going to watch it. I was going to show you the end of the Fortnite event as well.
Okay.
So you could kind of see what happened in that.
I'd like to see
so
that.
I want to talk a little bit about what the actual event was like.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's see what this is.
So this was me. I have some buddies of mine, Juan and Landis, that I've been playing games with for years.
Yep.
And then we were also playing with viewers. And at some points, people were like, go get Vader. So we were trying to get Vader and trying to talk to him as we were playing the game. And my friend Landis was wanting to ask him a question.
Okay.
Hey, Vader, what do you think of Blind Wave?
Blind Wave, Mandalorian Warrior 1, a collective that dissects moving images for the masses.
That's right.
Does their dissection
Right.
reveal any weakness in the Force? Are they merely skilled at observation?
Yeah, I think the bald one named Aaron.
Oh, that's 100% Rob.
Mandalorian Warrior 1. This Aaron manipulates the Force, you say? Is he an ally, or merely another misguided soul drawn to its power?
Oh, misguided soul for sure.
Misguided, yes. And yet, all beings possess the potential for enlightenment. Mandalorian Warrior 1. Which path will you choose?
That's amazing. I like that he described a reaction video, but not in any vernacular that betrays him being from the galaxy far, far away.
No, they dissect moving pictures for the masses.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's
pretty good.
In a weird way that I wasn't thinking about it was really funny. I thought it was a neat thing to have in there. So, but yeah, I just thought that was a funny moment whenever we were playing and messing around with Vader. Like you could ask him all kinds of stuff. It was just a fun little extra bonus in there.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Huh. That's awesome.
But yeah, I was like, oh man, I need to tell Eric about they asked about Blind Wave and here's what he said. And then I tried to do it when we were playing and he didn't play along the same way. And I was like, dang it, maybe we didn't ask him the right question or didn't say it the right way. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I kind of want to go and see what other people got him to say.
Yeah, I know, right? I heard there's some cool different things that he would say, or people were asking him, and I had chat like, guys, what should we ask Vader while we're doing this? And they gave me a list of things. So we asked him some different stuff during stream. So that was fun.
Gotcha. Okay. And AI is always one of those things where you have to say like, and I have a nuanced approach to this, but James Earl Jones did lend his voice to that. Like the model was trained on him, and he gave permission. I think also his estate gets residuals or not. I'm not really sure about that. I'll have to check that. But it would be weird, like you said, like for James Dean to do that in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't know why there's something like comforting about hearing his voice like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I certainly have enjoyed other voice actors being Vader. I mean, who was the guy that played him for Force Unleashed? Like, I thought he did a fantastic job.
I don't know who it was, because Sam was Palpatine, right?
One of the guys
was that right?
Yeah. Sam was Palpatine. There used to be a YouTube series called Chad Vader, and I think that guy got hired by LucasArts to play Vader because his Chad Vader voice was so good. Matt Sloan, is that what it is? Okay. Gotcha. That actually does sound kind of familiar, Matt Sloan.
Let's see. Darth Vader was Matt Sloan, who... Yeah, it looks like Chad Vader, Shift Manager. And then a lot of other just like maybe YouTube things or something too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can 100% every single time tell it's not James, where I didn't really feel that way with the AI model in Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I mean, those lines and that performance is still etched into my brain.
Yeah,
with Force Unleashed. So I go either way, I guess, on it. But I understand that people have very strong opinions about it.
I think it's kind of similar. I mean, some of those things would be similar, I think, in the idea of like sub and dub of what people feel about for the voice themselves, but not like what they feel about for what AI is going to be doing in the future and stuff too. Sure. I think that's a different. There's two different conversations, I think, in that sense. So
sure.
So, the other thing I wanted to show, so there was a event at the end of the season. Usually whenever seasons end, they'll have some kind of event to kind of cap off the end and lead into whatever the next version of whatever Fortnite season's going to be, right?
Sure.
So this one, I'm going to show like kind of like the climax part.
Okay.
But the rest of it building up, like there was a TIE fighter and X-Wing like battle that you could do, and you were trying to, like, if you were TIE fighters, you were trying to push off the X-Wings. If you were the X-Wings, you were trying to destroy the Star Destroyer. And it was all to make way so that a group could land inside the Death Star, and you were trying to sabotage the Death Star because it was going to blow up the Fortnite island, right? Like the place that Fortnite exists in.
Yeah.
One of the cool things is that when you got to land in there, the people with you, you could choose two ways to try to sneak in. You could either dress like a stormtrooper, or you could be a prisoner and put on cuffs, and you could walk, right?
The Wookiee technique. Yeah, sure.
So you get in for a little bit. You get to a few spots. You get to disable some, like, tractor beam stuff. You have to go and disable some turbo lasers to make the Death Star trench run easier for the pilots outside who are trying to blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to make it easier for them. Otherwise, they aren't able to do it, right? And then, sadly, my audio cut out in this for some reason. I was recording it from home. I still don't know what exactly happened with it. So sadly, during the climax of it all, you're not able to hear any of my thoughts with it. But this is the gameplay for the last little bit of the event itself as it climaxed.
Gonk messed up your audio there? Jesus.
I don't know. I don't want to blame Gonk. I'm sorry, Gonk. So we're all trapped.
It's so weird to see.
Who's that?
Well, I don't love that.
Oh.
Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design.
Is he here?
Let your death be the final word in the story of rebellion.
Oh, I love the red.
Like, blast him.
Oh, dude, he's blocking all of you. That's nuts.
Our guns.
Your feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side.
This is awesome, dude.
It's a pretty neat moment.
Yeah. Oh, he's throwing ties at you.
Yeah.
You're all dressed up as stormtroopers.
Like,
You ever have a clip?
Oh no, it's an ad.
Gosh, dang it.
Gonk.
Outplayed has one step, which
Sorry, guys.
Premium.
No. Jones. No.
And he starts choking us all. So Jones is one of the characters from Fortnite.
I get it. Yeah.
Also, leading up to this point, we got separated from another character named Hope, and we weren't sure where she ended up.
It's getting lightning, you guys. Oh! Force storm.
Like a guy just died in front of me.
Oh, perfect.
I'm out of ideas.
You have to crawl.
So Hope showed back up,
Yeah.
right? And they established earlier, like, don't throw the rift, like, as a grenade that makes a rift. Like, we don't know what it will do, so she throws it here.
Go back down. Okay.
Did you know that would work?
I didn't!
Hope.
Well, good work back there.
Blue Squadron.
Yeah, Blue Squadron was here.
Oh, cool. Ah, sweet.
We did it.
Great job, team.
It's a hell of a thing to see as you're falling.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Oh no, it's a hell of a thing to be falling with you.
That is not good.
You could arguably say it's just as bad.
Yeah, right? And like I said, usually what they'll do here is they'll be like, okay, this is the event to wrap up, to lead into what is going to be next. And I'll let you know, Gonk, when to end, because there's also another thing.
Powers or something?
Don't cut it yet, wait. And this
Superman.
is Superman.
Yeah. Awesome.
So that's like the next.
That's the next one?
The next season is a lot more superhero-y too. So like
That makes
whenever I was
sense.
playing it and stuff too, I was like, oh dang,
Yeah.
that's Superman there.
Hey, look at that clip. Blue Squadron clip. Oh, okay. Awesome.
But no, the end of the event like leads you into this with the Emperor and
That's a pretty cool.
yeah, having
that's
a fun
pretty
little
awesome.
climactic
Yeah.
moment with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a fun moment. The
Were
kids
those
enjoyed
lines
it and
right
stuff
from
too.
I mean, the lines were in the movies, but are they lifted from the movie?
I feel like they must have been. I don't know. Because I don't think they don't have the AI and all that kind of stuff for those.
No,
It's
but it
not
was so-
being reread. I don't think.
It
I
was
don't
so
know.
clean. I don't
Sure.
know. I've heard those lines over and over again, but I don't know if I've heard them that clean before.
Maybe they had like the audio files that they were able to just pull or
I
something.
mean, they're working directly with Lucasfilm. I
Yeah,
guess.
right.
Yeah, sure. They can
So,
do that.
and they also, I think Disney and Epic had some kind of like partnership or purchasing or something that they did. I forget exactly what it was. So
Gotcha.
yeah, but no, it was a fun event. Usually they do it around every May. They at least bring back some kind of Star Wars stuff. This one was just like a full Star Wars season
Yeah.
all May long.
Okay, I was wondering, like, what, I figured they do this to tie things in for promotional material, but yeah, this is Star Wars season.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was really cool to have that. So I thought it was a lot
Gotcha.
of fun. But yeah, that was Fortnite. I don't know who all played or if you guys play Fortnite at all, but it was a fun season. The Star Wars stuff's all gone. I enjoyed the weapons because they were all blaster weapons, and they didn't make you have to get ammo. You just had to like cool them
sure.
down and,
Yeah.
let 'em- and then like make sure they didn't overheat. So that was
Yep.
cool. And then there was TIE fighters and X-wings you could fly around and shoot in the air and have dogfights, and that was fun too. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, it was a fun time. And usually I play because of my kids for the most part. So.
I did see one comment that gave me a lot of joy where someone was like, man, I want to have kids so that I can have a full a Fortnite squad.
Yeah, right. No, Mel and I remember joking about that back before, where it's like different games where it's 4 or 5 players. Like, oh man, got my own little team.
Yeah,
as long as I can
right.
get them to, as long as we have the same interest.
Yeah, no.
So
I mean, my dad's interest was farming.
Yeah, sure, right.
But we did not have the same interest. So that's awesome. Sweet.
So, but yeah, but no, that was my Fortnite things. I just want to bring up a few things, and then after the event, I was like, oh man, when you're there and you just, I'm like, oh no,
feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side.
So fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's Fortnite then.
Okay. All right. Well, I say, Aaron, we maybe go from. Do you want to go from one game to another? Or do you actually
go to another game? You want to hold off?
I kind of want to jump into the book.
You want to talk about the book first?
Yeah. We had an extra week, so I kind of just like reread a little bit and had some fun with it. So yeah, I want to jump into Force Collector.
Well, good. Yeah. I didn't get to go through recently.
Gotcha.
I was wanting to as well, but I've been busy with some other things. But no. Force Collector. I kind of enjoyed this book. I had fun with it.
Yeah. Kevin Schnick was the author. And it really felt to me, and maybe it's because of like the main force power in this book is psychometry, right?
Yeah.
And I link that power, one, with Quinlan,
sure,
but two, with Cal Kestis so much. This felt like almost like a video game adaptation to a novel because of all of the locations that you're familiar with. I think video games do that a lot. Like, they'll sometimes bring in unique locations, but most of the time it's going to be planets that you're familiar with, so it can be more fleshed out. I really felt that with this Force collecting book, but not just the locations, but the whole idea of this novel.
Yeah.
So what did you think of our first sequel era novel that we've covered?
Yeah. No, I mean, I liked it. I think part of why I enjoyed it as much as I did is because of those, like the connections into the things I already know to get me introduced to this character that, I don't know, maybe will show up again, maybe shows up in something else, you know, like we're introduced to, what is it, Carr?
Yeah.
Carr as like he's just a kid at school, like being bullied. Whenever he like force choked the kid in the beginning, I was like, oh man, what's going on here? And then it was just, they were just making fun of him and stuff too. So like, I felt for the kid a little bit. Yeah. But just the journey that they have and the glimpses into things I recognized, but sometimes just a little bit more, one way or another. And I was like, oh, that's really cool.
You kind of get the feeling that, like, this book is like Carr watches Star Wars and kind of, like, learns the history as, you know, this was a lead-up to the Rise of Skywalker. Okay. This novel was released around then. And I know that because I was reading the Wikipedia entry, and they said that he had Carr visit the remains of the second Death Star in the original version.
Really?
And they were like, can you take that out? Because we're good. Like a year late. That was like a year before the movie came out.
Gotcha.
And
then don't do that one.
Yeah, they don't do that one. So yeah, that was actually pretty close there. And then another little thing I saw was that he also, in the same call about make sure you take out Death Star 2, they were like, so psychometry is actually a power? Like, he didn't know that. You know?
Really?
And they were like, we also just featured it in Jedi Fallen Order, and when that happens, here's what it looks like. And they would like show him the clips, and he's like, okay, bright white light happens, you know, because there's a bright white light in the video game.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the synergy, or learning about the synergy between this book and some of the other Star Wars media.
That's
you don't
cool.
really often get a look into those types of things. But
Yeah.
either way, yeah, Carr is an interesting character because, you know, this is like more of a young youth novel, right? Like slightly, it's not meant for a mature audience like, say, Death Troopers is, you know?
Sure, yeah.
But it was nice to see, like, it's like I was watching a kid discover his love for Star Wars when I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also had Goonies. Like, there's an element of something like that. There's also their friend Maisie. I think it's Maisie and the droid Ozzy, right?
Yeah.
I believe. Like
AZ7?
AZ. Is it AZ? Not I wrote down Ozzy when I was looking to him.
That sounds good, too.
But yeah, the
NZ7.
But whenever
Shit, I can't remember now. I gotta look it up.
But whenever I was reading through it, the characters are I don't know. They're kind of sent on this journey because they want, like, he wants to be connected. His grandma was like, no, you have this force power and you could be a Jedi and all these kind of things. But the journey he takes because he believes, right? And then he convinces Maisie that that it's real too. And in that moment, one, I love the amazement that I felt from Maisie. Like, oh my gosh, like this seems real. How would he know what my dad looks like or whatever it was? But also he had a glimpse and he talked about it being cold and all these things. And I was like, oh man, is this Hoth?
Yeah,
is that what happened? Like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, maybe her dad's this or that. And then as I was like, oh, now I see more. And I'm like, so this must have been Ilum is my only assumption of what he gets a glimpse of it being cold, and he's related to the First Order, and
yeah,
things
he's
like
a
that.
weapons designer for the First Order, and we know what happens to Ilum.
Yeah,
and becomes Starkiller,
and we've seen it in Fallen Order.
Uh-huh.
So it's I don't know exactly at what point it clicked for me, but I was thinking, oh, Hoth in the past. Where's cold? Hoth is cold, you know?
Sure,
What's
I
he
get
doing?
you.
Oh, maybe what's the story gonna be like? And then as I got into it, I'm like, oh man. That's what it is, and it's just reinforcing that Ilum turned into Starkiller base, I think, too. And
yeah, there was a part of me as I was reading that slightly was like, man, we're going to all the places you hear about. Like, is it convenient at all that this is happening? But I was also, you kind of have to do that thing with Star Wars sometimes where it's like, why is this happening? Because of the Force, Eric. The Force is sending him on this destination, and that's why he's connecting with all those things, because those things are important. RZ7.
RZ.
RZ.
Okay, so we called him RZ. Okay. I just kept hearing Ozzy, and I was like, Ozzy. I'm going to write down Ozzy.
Okay. You remember that
RZ.
because an A-Wing is an RZ-1 A-Wing. So RZ-7 is the droid. Now I can remember everything.
You're going to forget tomorrow, aren't you?
RZ.
I'm going to talk about this next Badonkagonk. Hey, what was that droid's name? And you were going to tell me what it was.
I'll never forget.
All right.
It'll be on my tombstone.
But yeah, I wrote down Death Star because they had it's cold. Death Star. Like my dad was never on the Death Star. It's like I didn't say the Death Star. I said this or that. So I thought that was interesting. But what really hurt was later.
Yeah.
And I was really mad at Maisie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, she betrayed us.
She betrayed us.
And I was so upset. And I was like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
She was on their side and a spy. And then later on, we're like,
First Order, man. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But I thought it was all a trick the whole time. But then she was like, no, that's not what I was doing. I didn't mean to do that. Like I was just talking to my dad, And I'm like, okay.
There was a part of me, like when that was happening, I kind of flashed to Harry Potter and how Harry will get so angry and not think about things sometimes, where I was like, maybe it's not that way. So I kind of was holding out hope.
Gotcha.
Reading through, let's talk to her first.
I actually felt betrayed.
You felt
that.
betrayed.
I was
Good.
like, they
That's
betrayed
awesome.
us, man.
Yeah.
And usually I'm more like that. It's like maybe there's something more.
Yeah,
but no, I was
sure.
like, no, Dad's First Order. It's all been a ploy.
Hey, I would rather feel the betrayal than try to guess the meta. I guess I was in the meta head.
Meta head.
Space.
Yeah,
so.
meta space head.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we went to a lot of places though. You were saying we went
back to Jakku.
We went to Utapau.
We went to Utapau. That was cool.
That one I thought was gonna this is a weird one. And it was I think on Utapau, we met a guy that I'm like I don't know if this guy exists or if he's a liar or what's going on, right? You know
talking about the son of a clone?
That he claimed to be the son of a clone, and I was like, wait, can clones have kids? I was like, what was it? One guy cut. He didn't have real kids.
Those were not his kids.
Well, I mean, they had kids, but they weren't his kids.
Yeah, that was another human that had those kids with the Twi'lek.
And I'm like, man, maybe am I under the impression they can't have kids? But has it been said they can't have kids? But I don't know. Maybe they can,
I think it makes business sense for the Kaminoans to take that away.
Sure, yeah.
So that you can't grow more army, Ethically, it probably makes sense too, Like you had to take a steer to the stock sale, you castrate them, So, I'm not very certain. I also am uncomfortable using those terms when it comes to human beings.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, are clones infertile? I don't.
Whenever they were talking about I've got the best thing out of the Clone Wars, me, and I was like, oh man, who's this guy? And he was like, oh, my dad was a clone. I was like, what? And I'm like, dang, man, I don't know. So I was very surprised about that, and the ages and stuff probably matched up okay, but I don't know.
There's examples in Legends and canon showing clones having children.
So, all right, well, that's a thing I want to see more about, I suppose. know, I'm just curious. I was surprised. That was one of the bigger shocks in here. I'm like, clone son, what? So, but no, the one of the cool things of going to Utapau was we got to see whenever Obi-Wan arrives. He has one of his little visions there.
Tian Madan.
Tian Madan.
Level.
Yeah. And it's like, is he bringing support? Or whatever. It's like, I sure hope so, or whatever he says.
That actor that plays Tion Madan, he is. What would you have seen him in? Do you remember in The Matrix Revolutions, the Train Man? Neo gets stuck at a train station, and there's a guy with a bunch of like watches on his wrist.
Yeah,
that's the Train Man. That's Tion Madan.
That's the same guy. Okay.
He also played the mouth of Sauron in a cutscene from Return of the King. But yeah, I think he's like a New Zealand actor.
Okay.
But I know him best as Tion Madan.
Well, but then Tion Madan, like we had that whole like scene, and then I think we had like a little bit more, like Obi-Wan like came back, and like it was those little moments that I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because like we travel around a good bit.
Oh,
like I think we go from there, and then we go to.
My favorite was Black Spire Outpost, Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. What's the name of the planet that Black Spire is on? But yeah, we go Batu. That's what it is, Batu.
Batu.
But we go to Batu, and we're in Doc Ondar's Den of Iniquities, like which is the shot. Like so, I've been in Doc Ondar's Den of Iniquities. I've seen the Jedi guard helmet in his shop. So whenever they were in that section where we're going around the shop and he's talking about his lightsabers, like I didn't have to imagine that. Like I've been there, you know.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was really cool.
That was the Ithorian?
Yeah, that's the
Is that right?
Ithorian. Yeah, Doc Ondar.
Gotcha. The one who sent him to Maz.
Yeah. When you go to Disney land and you walk into that shop, he is there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that at all.
Yeah.
That would be cool to have that kind of moment there, being like, oh, I've been here.
Yeah.
you
no,
know?
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've seen his collection of lightsabers. I was like, oh, he got a collection of lightsabers? Which one are we going to feature? And it was a freaking Inquisitor saber. Dang it. It's the last thing I would go to in a collection of lightsabers.
Like, it could have been like, did they say Inquisitor or did they say Grand Inquisitor?
I mean, I don't remember in that moment. I mean, we definitely know the Grand Inquisitor is involved here.
Sure, yeah.
And it is broken, right?
It is broken.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
it is
might
the Grand
not have
Inquisitors? Gotcha.
Is it supposed to be?
One of his. I mean, I'm sure he has a bunch. I don't even know if he has, like, does he have, like, a specific one? Or I don't imagine the Inquisitors are too precious about their lightsaber, you know?
Interesting.
I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, the that whole shop and stuff was really cool. Yeah. I really liked it.
It really felt like an adventure.
It did. That's why I related a lot to like the kind of a Goonies, like a child, child trying to figure out who they are, but also like trying to he wants to prove the Jedi are real. Mm-hmm. So like he goes to Utapau. They find out like, oh well, they shot down a ship, you know, over here, and they go there, and we get Sifo Dyas stuff. And I was like, oh man, and we get to hear a message before it doesn't work anymore.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
They even mentioned Silman leaving in a escape shuttle or whatever.
That was the one dude. We saw him in Clone Wars.
Silman, we saw he was the crazy guy in Clone Wars that we saw eating rats and stuff.
Yeah,
that was
in the prison of the Pikes, right?
Yeah, I really felt like the book did it. Like it's called Force Collector, but it did a good job of like collecting various Star Wars moments to put this kid like into the galaxy. And I actually like where we kind of leave off, which is like, hey, I'm gonna keep doing this. Mm-hmm. So I was ready to keep reading.
Yeah,
you know,
like
I hope we see him again.
The cover of the book feels like where the ending is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, not where we start.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the message of Sifo Dyas, as Nexus said, like he did have an intention to come back and talk to the council.
Yeah.
About the Order 66. It just
he was stopped.
Never worked out, or it was the will of the Force. I don't know.
Perhaps, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think I thought that was really cool, a fun moment for just more of the Sifo Dyas stuff, because it's always been such a mystery. And then like when Clone Wars got into it, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and this is a little bit more.
And it's fun to get like little tiny pieces, but not one character has all those pieces. We have more pieces, but not one character has enough to figure out in time what happened.
Yeah,
you know.
But you mentioned before, and then we kind of moved a little bit, but we also went to Jakku. But we went there before the events, right? Of Rey taking off.
Yeah, Unkar Plot is there. In the, you know, what was really funny when I was studying for the Schmodown, I was like, okay, Unkar Plot. I'm gonna go to his Wikipedia page. Okay, he has a canteen called the Blockhouse. I did a card about the Blockhouse, but I didn't know where that stuff came from. I thought it was like a source book. It was this book.
It all came from this?
I studied parts of this book, not knowing it, months or a year or two ago now. You know, it's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, we did have Unkar, and she goes by a tugboat, which we know is the ship that Rey wants to go for, and then we get to a Corellian freighter as well.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah. I think that was one of the best ones for me. I mean, I'm also was kind of thinking of like Luke arriving in the last movie. The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And kind of having that moment. That's one of my favorite moments from that movie in general. So I kind of almost had like another one of those, which is sit in the Falcon and think about everything that's happened here.
Yeah.
But yeah, what he got from that, like Luke, who was, I just heard, like this guy pulls Star Destroyers out of the sky.
Skywalker.
In the Battle of Jakku. But here, he was a novice. He didn't know anything. He might know less than I do. And I think that was cool.
I like that he hears about Skywalker from the Utapau. Like, oh, that's Kenobi and Skywalker. I know two names. And then he gets here and he's like, oh, that's Kenobi and this is Skywalker. Okay. But he doesn't realize that there's more than one there, you know? He just knows the name Skywalker. Like, he's just trying to pick up what he can. I do like the moment because it is a vision he gets of the original trilogy while being in a place of the newer trilogy. And I thought that was a real cool, like, a way to have that vision be there and everything, too.
It definitely, like, because of the nature of this adventure, it unified the three trilogies.
Yeah, this, all of it was in this. Like, and even, like Sifo Dyas is from the prequel trilogy, too, you know? And Clone Wars. Like, it's, like, all that stuff is in there.
He had a vision of Anakin in the temple.
Yeah.
You know, I like how that was used to kind of, like, make himself doubt himself, right? I mean, that's the point of Anakin's story, is watch a good person become the most evil person in the galaxy. It's like, hey, that can happen to anybody if you make the wrong choices.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the Inquisitor saber touch thing, right?
Yeah.
Is it related to that? And then he sees his own face in the reflection or
whatever? Yeah, he sees his own face, and I'm thinking, like, oh, okay, like Empire Strikes Back, Luke sees his face, but he doesn't see his face. He sees someone else's face, which was a shock to me as we learned that. But he, his grandmother was, not Jahira, right? I'm thinking of Baldur's Gate. Jahara?
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't know if I wrote it down. I'm trying to find it.
I think his grandmother was Jahara. But either way, she turns out is the kid of not a survivor of the Clone Wars, but someone that left the Jedi Order before the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Usually when we deal with Jedi survivors, they generally still believe in the Jedi teachings. They're just frightened.
Sure.
But I liked that his great-grandfather, who was still alive, I liked that he had doubts about the Jedi even before. So he actually believed the Jedi betrayed people. That's interesting. You don't really see that from Force-using Jedi.
It's
or former Jedi.
Kind of similar to Ahsoka in like leaving before things happened, but Ahsoka also was still involved in things, right?
Yeah.
So. But yeah, no, and then you just glance over the ending.
I'm sorry.
That was a moment too where I was like, oh dang, man, like I like the relationship that he has with his grandmother.
Me too.
Especially compared to like his parents who are like not for this, they don't believe. This whole book too, I love the legend of the Jedi, right? Like we know that the Jedi were real, but here you're in a galaxy with however many systems and however many people, and who is still alive that know of the Jedi or has seen the Jedi, you know? How rare was it to see a Jedi back when there was so many of them, right?
Sure.
Like, I don't know, I don't remember how many Jedi are like in the height, right? But there's not like millions of them,
no,
you know?
At the height of the prequel trilogy, there's 10,000.
10,000? So
which,
like,
I mean, when you consider that there's hundreds of thousands of senators just in the Republic alone, that ain't much.
No,
you know?
Yeah, and like a lot of those Jedi are there at the temple, and then you have some Jedi out and about doing stuff. So like, I feel like seeing a Jedi even in their height is not super likely.
Yeah.
Now, jump ahead where there's been the betrayal. People don't talk about the Jedi. Now there's been legends of people being like, are Jedi real?
Yeah.
And if they were real, were they traitors or were they not? And like so many of that story of him catching little things, the legend of Skywalker, right? Like that's why he goes to Jakku, I think it is, because like talking about a Star Destroyer being pulled
because
from
of
the
Battle of
sky
Jakku,
and stuff,
yeah.
you know?
Which I need to see that if that happened.
It made me think of Force Unleashed.
Yeah, it definitely did. I thought of Battlefront 2. We had a Battle of Jakku in there with Iden Versio, but I don't remember Luke pulling out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I don't know if he would have been. I don't know if
or
it's,
is that the story, which is just as intriguing.
The legend of it all, you know? I remember talking with you or someone about, like, books in the old canon, and, like, he moved, like, a star fleet out of the way or something.
Oh,
or,
yeah,
or
I mean,
something like that.
he did that. At one point, there's this, one of his students, I can't remember his name right now, but one of his students gets absorbed into like an insect hive mind called the Kilix, I think. And what happens is like this student like is able to use the force power of all the individuals in the hive. So he's one of the most powerful characters ever, right?
It's like Kip or something. Kit. Or something,
Kip
I think,
Duran
right? Is that right?
Yeah, that's not who this is.
It's not this one? Okay.
It's another person. I can't remember their name. But either way, because he becomes like an insect and like it's really strange and stuff.
Oh.
But it talks about it in the prose that like when he's using the Force to move Luke Skywalker, it's like the power of a black hole is how powerful he is.
Huh.
And yet Luke did not move, you know? So the old legends really pushes up the power level of Luke Skywalker. And I think certain authors like... It's kind of like Superman. Like, I push him to here, and I push him to here. Well, I push him so he pushes infinity, you know? And now you've broken the character.
Yeah,
sure. I do feel a little bit like Legends Luke Skywalker can be a little overpowered sometimes, but that didn't diminish how excited I was when I read that in prose.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
No, it's really cool to have those moments and stuff. And I think the idea of it being Legends and being like, oh, well, I can still think about these moments from Legends as being literal legends in our current canon. I think it's a fun idea of like, oh, you know, this story is a story in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like Mace Windu's Shatterpoint, I don't believe is a story anymore, but that could be a legend in Star Wars of something Mace Windu, like how great he was, you know?
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story of Mace Windu. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the utilization of legends it's kind of like putting an official spin on the idea of headcanon. It's like, do you like it? Well, it's there. You can enjoy it, you know?
But it makes me think of the...
Raynar Thal. That's his name. Oh, my God. I haven't read that name in 20 years. I don't know how long it's been, but that's who it was.
I've never heard of that name.
The guy that was in there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the
thank you,
Legends that are
Jesse and Nexus, for that. So, yeah. But no, I don't know. Just it makes me think of the kids in the stables in The Last Jedi. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Where like
Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you know, the story the Ewoks were told by C-3PO and like they told, like, because they're probably a tribe, they probably tell stories and they talk about the Golden God and the story they told them and how they stopped the evil, you know, like where did you know, some of this debris come from or any of this stuff too, you know, like it's just these stories are passed down over. I mean, it's not that far as how much time has passed. You know, it's not like generations.
Yeah.
But it's a generation or two, maybe, you know.
And it's not all good stories. Like, he also hears the story of a dark warrior that the Tuskens tell.
Oh, dude, that moment, too. Did I write that down? Because that was so cool. And then he talked about, like, seeing, like, a dark image on a rock, right? And I thought that was, like, great. And we got the story of the Tusken Raiders where, like, they went out and left, like, some warriors, I think, and their children and wives all back at base. And when they came back, there was, like, no evidence of any of them. And I'm like, oh, my God. That's all there was left was a dark etching on a rock of a shadowy, cloaked figure. And I'm like, that's terrible.
It's dark.
Especially if you think about like Book of Boba and like that tribe and you start like kind of relating like different elements of Star Wars into it. Like I think about like that tribe was pretty cool to Boba, you know? They were just people living out in the desert, you know?
It's interesting for such a pivotal scene of Anakin slaughtering the Tuskens and with the ability to just like expand on Star Wars past the movies. We've never really like seen that.
No.
And I want to say good.
Sure.
Because I'm not one of these guys like I want to see,
I don't
Anakin
see the younglings
killing kids in the temple. You know, badass Darth.
I don't need to see that either.
I don't want to see that because I don't want my hero to do that. And I don't want to see him killing little Tusken babies and stuff. But there was nothing left. Like what happened? I'm kind of curious on that. But it's almost like we're forbidden from looking that deep into Anakin in Episode 2 that way. He's scared of it, yes, and he talks to Padme about it, but you don't get to see it. Not like how bad it really got. And that's interesting.
I'm trying to remember if we ever did we see him like burning or anything? Like I wonder if like he buried the bodies or burned the bodies or any of that. I'm trying to remember if in Episode 2 there's any of that because I feel like he comes out and you hear noises and it's just
you hear Qui-Gon, Anakin, no, and then it's just Skywalker is in pain, terrible pain.
Yeah. I don't know. I imagine maybe he like took the bodies and like either burned them or buried them or something like that, and they couldn't find.
Yeah.
But how crazy would it be like you left and you come back and not only is like it's not like family or anyone's dead. It's just they're gone. There's just no evidence of anybody.
And everything just feels cold and dark.
Yeah. And then you look on your wall in your house and there's just a big shadowy figure drawn on it. Like, who had the time to do that while it was happening?
Yeah, right.
Was there a kid being like, what'd you see? Or like as they were dying, maybe he's like, I gotta tell them, watch out for this guy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're not going to be the best singers, so maybe they're good artists.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Tusken's trying to sing. I don't think.
But all the imagery I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Or the sand buries them. You could have that. I would figure that kind of stuff, though, they would know to look for. Like that. I feel like it has to be something that they're not expecting.
Maybe the massives that they had just like took their bodies in the desert. I don't know. The dogs,
Sure, yeah. Or what's that thing that has like 8 legs or 6 legs or what that was buried in the desert? It popped up looking like Motaro and Goro combined or whatever.
Uh-huh.
That thing was crazy. But no, that was a great moment too.
Yeah.
What else happened? What'd you think of going to Takodana?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that was the one. I'm like, damn, we're going everywhere. Is what I kind of said in my head. But no, that was cool. I like how Maz Kanata has this feeling of being this like wise Force user, despite having no evidence that she's ever Force used.
Yeah,
she's just so old and has so much experience that there's not. This isn't the right way to say it. I want to say like there's not a whole lot of mysteries for her, but that's not true. Everything is a mystery for her. She just goes with the flow. Mysteries don't bother her. She's very comfortable saying, I don't know, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things, too, like, because Ahsoka and the way that Dave Filoni has been talking about his conversations with George Lucas, but like, hey, anybody can be a Jedi. You just got to have the training and discipline to do it. But then you have, like, Nexus is saying, like, well, she's Force sensitive, but she doesn't manipulate it. So I don't even know if Force sensitive means anything anymore. Sometimes, like it does because midichlorians are in your blood, and that has to do like powerful Jedi can have powerful offspring. I get it.
Well, even with Carr in this one, like it feels like he has like was it psychometry?
Yeah,
and like some Force sensitivity, but he's not going to be a Jedi. It seems right. Like he's trying to almost preserve the history and the legend and the stories, and he can get glimpses into that.
Yeah,
but he's not like picking up stuff with the Force. He's not going to have a lightsaber. Like he's not going to be like a Jedi, but he's just Force sensitive out there. Whereas I don't think Han Solo really has like a Force sensitive thing. But you could argue like all because of this or this, maybe he does, and that's why he can fly so well, or why whatever it is.
It's interesting. Like can you call yourself a Jedi if you just aspire to be one? Like if I aspire to be a U.S. Marshal, it doesn't matter unless I actually have an affiliation with the Marshal's office.
Sure.
And there is no Marshal's office anymore.
Sure.
So I don't know.
So, like, because the Jedi Order no longer exists, could Carr become a Jedi even though it doesn't?
Yeah.
Or is he just forever to be a Force-sensitive individual unless a new order was to appear?
Sure.
That kind of thing? That would be interesting.
Jesse thinks that he'll go to Rey's order. There was a part of me that was like, man, I would like this guy to meet someone and like actually be able to be part, because a Force collector, as like that's my role in the group, is really cool party layout.
Yeah. No, that would be really cool. I like that. And the fun thing too is like when we were talking about Plot, right? Plot Unkar, is that his name?
Unkar Plot, yeah.
Unkar Plot. when he's talking to him, he gives him something, being like, "Oh, this is, whatever it is," and he like, "This is nothing. I don't want this at all." The psychometry power he has allows him to go and look through things and be like, "Oh, this is something I want. This does have meaning or history, or was used by a Jedi, or was used to kill a Jedi, or like things like that." So I'm like, it's cool that he can be that, like, he could be like a museum curator.
I was just gonna say that. Like, can you imagine having that power and just going to a museum? I'd go to a museum every day.
That would be sweet. But like, he could be like a Jedi, like a Jedi archive, and he can actually tell you like this is what it's connected to. And what if like he wrote in a journal after touching things and made sure like if he ever touched it again, does it give him something else or something more? Because me having this item doesn't mean that only one vision should ever happen with it. What about another time I had it with me? Or what about someone else who came around and used it? Or, any of that. So,
sure, I get you.
Like, if he has the Grand Inquisitor's weapon, or if he has, I know Maz Kanata has Luke's saber, right? Or Anakin's saber.
It's a story
right?
for a different time.
Yeah, but like, when he touches that, what vision does he get? Yeah. Does he get something related to Anakin? Does he get something related to Luke? Does he get elements in between before Maz gets it?
Sure.
Does he touch it different times and gets a different vision each time? So like I imagine like you have that in the museum, but every time he touches it, if it's a different vision, he's writing down and keeping elements of the story there so that this is what this is. And I think it's a cool.
Me too.
That'd be a cool thing to have. Even if he never became a Jedi in like Rey's New Order.
Yeah.
If he's like, I don't know how far in the future it's gonna be, or like how old he would be there. But imagine having like kind of like an older curator guy who's like, "Oh, you're looking for Skywalker," He's like, "This was his saber, and let me tell you the stories about it," or whatever.
I mean, this is shortly before Force Awakens, right?
It has to be because the Falcon's still there, right?
I mean, the first two movies in the sequel trilogy are right after each other.
Sure.
And then there's a year between the 2 and 3.
Yeah. So the main thing is just
I should say 8 and 9.
What's the gap before if they're going to do the New Order movie? Yeah. What's the gap there?
Sure.
Like he wouldn't be too much older.
He wouldn't be. No, he would be younger. Nexus says 2 years before Force Awakens.
2 years. So so you get 2, 3. What? Like we're at maybe 5 years, and then we're past everything and going into maybe the New Order. I don't know. I don't know how much time you'd need after, but yeah, it could be really cool to have him be involved in that.
It reminds me of like the old in Legends there was like the Jedi Knight books, like the young youth novels, and there was this idea that if you like failed as like a Jedi or like your Jedi trials, they'll just like push you off to other things. Like there are Jedi farmers. You can be part of the Ag Corps,
Okay.
You can be maybe there's like there's wayfinders, there's force collectors. I like all these different non-combative Jedi jobs we could have.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
This also makes me think about in that same idea of jobs, like how cool it would be to have a Quinlan book revolving around the path. Because as being someone trying to guide people and take people to safety, having this kind of power, I don't know if can they use it on people? Can I touch somebody if like Quinlan maybe if he gets strong enough in the Force and good enough connection? Is it only items?
I feel like it's only items.
Because like what if I can like touch to like kind of get a sense of like where you've been? Like if you come to me being like, "Oh, I want to help you for the Jedi,"
sure.
But then I touch you and find that you've been, talking to an Imperial and you're trying to find where all the Jedi are hiding. Like. Quinlan's great in the Clone Wars as like a detective because of being able to touch and see like evidence of this or that. But I was like, what kind of powers could you have in there for him doing the path and like trying to lead people to safety? And
sure, yeah.
Maybe you just touch someone's blaster and you can get a little vision of what they were doing with it or something,
Yeah.
But
it kind of reminds me of like stories about ghosts. How people talk about, well, let's say it's not ghosts aren't human spirits, but they are echoes of energy. So if something really terrible happened in a place, maybe that echo of that energy lingers, And I think that happens in locations and objects, not necessarily people, right? So
sure.
I don't think it's ever been.
How about a dead body?
Maybe.
If
there's
that
no
count?
soul,
Yeah.
is that just
like
a hunk of meat
like when
and
in KOTOR, we went to that one tomb and woke up whoever he woke up, and then
Sure.
he was not happy with me.
I get what you mean. Like if I had Psychometry and then Chewbacca was about ready to get into that trap in the Ewoks, could I be like, No, the Ewoks did this.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Yeah, like that could be
because
really
it's
cool.
a dead animal. I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, don't touch it, Chewie.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to have someone that uses psychometry, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, by the way. I know I get it wrong all the time. People make fun of me. But if they use psychometry, but they can't see the past, they can only see the future of an item.
Oh.
That would be interesting, especially coupled with the idea that the future is always in motion.
Yeah.
I like the idea of, like, I'm here for the psychometry course. Okay, here, touch this. What do you see? And it's like, you die? Like, what? Like, you die tomorrow? What are you talking about, kid? I don't know.
Class canceled tomorrow. Staying home.
That would be kind of a fun little. I don't know if that's how the power can possibly work, but it's fiction. It can work any way we want.
Yeah. It could. I mean, good. It really could.
Yeah.
That's another thing too with like the growth of powers too, right?
Yeah.
Like how maybe one person can be stronger in this if that's the only thing they're really good at.
Sure.
Better than someone else can, you
Yeah.
know? Especially if this person isn't focused on, Cal can do this, but he's also fighting with lightsabers. He's doing force pulls. He's doing, he's doing other abilities and stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't know if Car's going to do all that kind of stuff, but traveling around and his main focus is finding items and touching them and seeing what he can get out of them.
Sure.
Like maybe it gets even stronger in
Maybe.
that.
Yeah.
So in Maz Kanata's, they had a medal, which I thought was really funny because of this was from Han Solo. It was his medal that he got from A New Hope, right?
Uh-huh.
But then he touches it and it's like, well, no, this is Skywalker's medal. And Maz's like, he would,
Yeah,
like
right?
he gave me his friend's
He gave me
medal,
the other medal. Yeah.
which is a.
You swindler.
Which if he's aspiring to be a Jedi, he might just be like, I don't, this is an
Gotcha.
attachment kind of thing. But I don't know if Luke, he's also trying to save his father too, so he might just stolen it from him or
Yeah, that
something.
was
But
funny.
I just thought it was a funny thing where it's like he would
Yeah.
do this. But he also touched an arm, and
I love when he touched the arm.
I thought it was a cool thing. There's
Yeah.
so much
I know.
there.
Not only is it cool that he's getting all that information, but I love that the thing that has seen the most of what we love is a droid. It's C-3PO. 3PO has been there for everything.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
R2, yes.
He don't remember it,
Yeah, he don't remember it.
but he's been there.
But the memory lingers just the same.
yeah,
Yeah, that was really cool. I love touching arms. Someone's like, I love touching arms. But no, that was the sheer amount of things that they got from that was
yeah.
it made me very happy reading that part. Or I should say listening to that part.
Oh yeah, they talked about the music in that during the audiobook was so good. It talked about like pod races. It talked about Vader. It talked about like just
Padme.
all these things. Yeah, just popping out.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't know was talking about how it got from the belly of that beast. So I don't know how that pertains to this because at first I was like, "What do you mean from the belly of the beast? Like, what are you talking about from there?" And I was like, "I can't think of anything in the movies I know." So maybe there's like another book or another like
Possible.
storyline in a comic or something.
Nexus says you'll find that out.
Okay. All right. I was wondering if it's like something that has been told and I just haven't gotten there yet, or if it's something that's like, oh well, that they left that there because they want to touch on it in the future or something.
Oh yeah.
But I suppose
stuff
didn't
like that.
does 3PO has like a red arm?
Yeah, he does.
Right in the sequel trilogy. Or
Captain
is- or-
Solo, you're probably here to talk about my new arm.
Yeah. Okay. I thought
He does.
so.
He has a red arm in Force Awakens.
So he might have lost this here and it got replaced. Because didn't he have like a different color leg too?
He had a silver leg in Episode 4, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. But I was like, well, that's weird.
I always thought that was just cool. Like, eventually, droids are going to need new parts.
You just
So
use
that's
what you got.
Yeah, at some point, it's just it
They
already is giving history into that character.
They took like TC-14's leg or
Yeah.
something like that. Where
Yeah. TC-14.
Sorry, that's all we had was a TC
Yeah.
unit, So we put that on there. So, but yeah, I thought that was a really cool moment of him, and now he has so much information, and so much knowledge, and
it just made me like love and appreciate 3PO a little bit.
Yeah, right. Like he's been there. He's always been there.
Yeah, but I so rarely get emotional with him. It's only really like whenever he might be gone forever in Episode 9, where with R2 or whatever, when they're gonna wipe his mind, that I ever got like emotional with 3PO. But I got a little emotional with this one, so it was nice.
Also with Maz, the feelings he gets from the it's not a temple, I don't think, right? The building they're in and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was interesting too. Like talked
castle.
about like the castle, like he felt like pressure above and below of like the people gone and the what's in the building and then the walls and.
When Hans says in episode 7, she's been running this for 1,000 years. There's a lot of history there.
It's crazy. It's a long time.
I mean, she's been running it since the Sith have been gone. Like the Sith left and came back, and she was still running it, and it was a millennia. She's older than Yoda.
She is. I wonder if that's why she likes Chewie so much. Because, like, he's older, too.
He's
right?
250. Yeah, he's 250. Or he's 250 and...
He's not as old.
Yeah.
Oh. Dang, thank you, Alex in Scotland, for the gifted subs. Thank you, Gonk.
Alex.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gonk. Good boy.
We also have, I think, a Gonk emote, right? Isn't there a Gonk emote on Twitch now?
If there isn't, it's making its way to it.
There's sub hypes I see coming out, but if not, I think there's going to be there's a Gonk emote. There it is.
It is here.
Thank you, Gonkers.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I worked on that at one point.
Yeah. So now there's a new Gonk emote over on Twitch too. So yes, for the Gonk. Gonk, Gonk.
Spread it far and wide, please.
And thank you, Alex.
Does Kyle Katarn have a Twitch? He loves Gonks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kyle Katarn, the
At
YouTuber,
first I was like,
not the character.
Well, he probably has a Gonk somewhere,
on that,
on
on the Ravencrow. Ravenclaw. I can't remember what the name of his.
Ravenclaw is Harry Potter, but I don't know if it's also a ship. But I also don't know the Kyle Katarn game.
Kyle Katarn has a ship called it's a bird and something.
So like
I'm losing my memories,
Millennium
Aaron.
Falcon, right?
Yeah.
Like.
I can't remember now.
Gonkers Unite, Saint Angel.
Gonkers Unite. The Moldy Crow.
The Moldy Crow.
I was routed about the bird.
What
man.
a name.
The Moldy Crow.
I mean, it's bound to be better than the Outrider.
It's a Dash Radar.
Maybe we should replay that sometime.
Yeah.
I don't know how hard it would be, but I remember it being kind of harder when I was a kid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I played that Battle of Hoth opening level 200 times. I beat the rest of the game 3 times.
Yeah. The Hoth level was great, and it was the very beginning. And then after that, when you're a person, it was like, all right, shoot him, run. And the junkyard was so hard with the trains, and that's the third level
the
or
train.
something.
Yeah, that one's crazy. There's the underwater Dianaga.
Oh gosh,
that's nuts. There's some good stuff on
There's
there.
jetpack through the canyons and stuff, and then you find an ATST, and
I would replay that.
It's been
whenever
a long time
Dash
since
gets
I
hurt. I'm like, God, I hate when he gets hurt.
It's been so long. What else did I have here? The story of Kara I like a lot. Maz gives a lot of advice and stuff too. I like the idea that Jedi or not, you must make your own story. What are you wanting to do?
Yeah.
I said before about liking the way the grandma was portrayed in this, and it felt like she was the only one wanting to tell him, what he is. You know what I mean? Where his history is. Mm-hmm. But also encourage him to be what he wants to be.
Yeah.
And then everyone else, your parents are going to send him a trade school or something, right?
They were, yeah. But I mean, well, and that's another thing too, because we also in here have the revelation that's kept secret, or the secret that is revealed.
Sure.
Right? Obi-Wan doesn't tell Luke about Anakin. He does from a certain point of view, but he holds it back. Sorry, I'm very burpy right now.
Sure.
But I like that we kind of had that in there, and I actually kind of like that the parents, both of the kids' parents, were they're supportive of their kids. You don't get that a ton in Star Wars because either your parents are dead or distant, or
I feel like they at least are once he confronts them and talks.
Yeah,
right.
Where we end up at is what
we
I mean.
get to that point.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it feels like, oh no, we can't, and it feels more, I guess, protective, right? Don't think, no Force stuff, none of this. Let's send him to trade school. The headaches hopefully will go away. We'll just forget about it. But when the confrontation happens and everything with the parents, and Maisie's well, let's just go, and can you please look? I want to go. It almost feels like you better send me, or I'm gonna sneak off anyway.
Yeah.
So why don't you just support this and then we'll go? And okay, fine, let's do this. But I liked that. I liked how much Maisie supported. Once I found out that she wasn't like trying to betray
she's not a
us.
betrayer. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I didn't RZ get shot?
They shot his arm off.
It was just his arm. Okay, because there was a point I was like, oh God, they just killed this droid. Because like
I was convinced like his arm's off, he's getting 3PO's arm.
Oh, dude, that could have been.
That's
cool.
what I was convinced of. But
I at one point, like I thought, like the First Order aspect was going to be a little bit more antagonistic, I suppose.
Sure.
But overall, like there's not
they can't,
too much of an antagonist in this.
They can't be, right? Like the whole point of Leia's resistance is that the New Republic is like, what evidence do you have that they're bad? Like they're allowed to exist. You know, like they can have their own systems, but they're not going to attack us or anything. Like that's ridiculous. And Leia's like, no, this is going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And it happens.
Yeah.
So you can't have them be too crazy, I suppose.
5 times worse than A New Hope.
Yep. 5 times. Yep.
Let's see. But yeah, you're talking about the reveal element of it, right? Like we go to whatever the last planet is. I forget. I don't know if we knew it or not, but I was not expecting him, I guess, to be alive still. The grandfather, great-grandfather, whichever one
it would
is.
be his grandmother's father.
Grandmother's father. Okay, yeah.
His maternal grandfather.
So his great-grandfather.
Yeah. But he was still alive.
Yeah. For then.
Enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough to talk, enough to go over things, enough to kind of have like a moment until he was done.
Yeah.
It was like he was there enough. It reminded me a little bit of like I remember my grandfather, like when he wasn't doing well, he was at home in like a hospice care kind of thing, and it was like his oldest son who lived down south was like, oh well, he's gonna come and he's gonna come and visit and say hi, and there was that day that my Uncle John got there, they talked and they were able to hang out, and it was that evening he passed, and it felt like a moment of getting that, oh, good, last thing that I needed to get taken care of, and then moved on. And this kind of made me think of that a little bit, where it was like he came and then he's like, well, no, let me talk to you, grandfather, about this stuff. And like they have these conversations, and then it kind of, he's, I don't know, if at ease or whatever it is, like I don't need to hide anymore. I know where my daughter is, right? I understand what happened with that. She has passed and had a good life kind of thing. And I don't need to try to keep hiding to keep her safe, you know? Like there were elements of that I felt like were all in there. And yeah, the at peace element I thought was really cool.
Me too.
And then he gets like his robe. And I was like,
he gets
oh,
his
it's
robe
so
and
cool.
His lightsaber.
Yeah, and his lightsaber.
No, that's awesome. And then when we leave, we blow up his house.
Well, yeah, we got to get rid of all the evidence. I'm so glad they were like, we're not going to, you're going to take something, right? You know, like we had that kind of thing. Because if they had gotten rid of all of it, I'd have been like, dang, man, I'd have been. I was like, they were talking about them like, there's so much here. You better take some stuff, please. You've been collecting stuff from everywhere. No one else is gonna touch this stuff and be like, wait a minute, what's this? You know. So I was so glad they took some stuff. But yeah, it was one of my. I really like that. Like the whole book. I think a mixture of being able to jump into different elements of Star Wars that I already know, while introducing me to this new character that I don't know, but also giving me like the legend of the Jedi, what people in the galaxy think about them or don't think of them, you know, like all of that I thought was really interesting. And it kind of paired with, was it the last book we did? The one with Mon Mothma, I think it was, when talking about like the Jedi and who cared about them and why people didn't want to, like, hey, you killed a Jedi. Is this not a bigger deal and no one's talking about it? And like so much of it just disappears so quickly.
Yeah, none of the people, like Bale's like, what the heck? Why aren't we doing anything about this?
Yeah. Like having that, like we had that moment, I think, last book. And now we have this book. And it's like we saw right at the very beginning what happened and why people didn't care. You know, it's like, well, what are we going to do about it? They're all dead.
Yeah.
What does proving that do? And then now we're here and it's like, yeah, no one's talking about it because why were they talking about it? They were all gone, you know? Even if there is like little remnants and elements of, you know, Rebels, Ahsoka, you know, whoever that are out there doing Jedi things, Cal Kestis. It's so much fewer and far between than when we had 10,000 Jedi out, you know, during the prequels. So, no, I like this book a lot. I thought it was really good. Maybe I'm more of a young adult reader, and they fit well for me or something. You know, I don't know.
Necessarily. I mean, I think like stuff like The Glass Abyss with Mace Windu, like so much of that, like 99% of it was brand new information.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to solidify yourself and know where you are or who you recognize. You know, Star Wars is great about that because if you wanted to, you could just not read Star Wars books. You could read any type of book and get really cool stories, but at the very least, that's one of the things I like about Star Wars or stuff like Harry Potter. Like, it got kids to read.
Sure.
Star Wars got me to read.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Star Wars, I probably wouldn't have read. Like, I got into Star Wars books before I got into Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't the biggest reader other than, like, the Bible, I guess. I don't know. But I was more of a movie watcher and stuff like that and never really put a whole lot of stock into it until I picked up a Star Wars book and I was like, oh my God, there's more?
There's more stories I don't know.
So I'm very thankful for the franchise for doing that because I've since went out and read other books. And then I took a break and now I'm back with Star Wars books.
Yeah. And now there's so many.
Yeah, there's so many. We definitely have to catch up.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, book I thought was really good. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I hope to see Carr again in the future, or like I said before, this also made me think about Quinlan, and like maybe we can get Quinlan stories or something like that too, of figuring out where he went or what happened with him.
Sure.
But
yeah, we'll see.
I don't know if we have
as we learn more about like this era, I'm constantly gonna be like, all right, well, maybe in the Rey Jedi movie, we could see a character like this pop up, and I would love it. Like, I'm still going to think of that for Cal Kestis, but I mean, he's going to be old by then.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, 15 years after or something like that? I don't know.
Like, maybe you get some, maybe you make him the old curator, and you send Carr out to go get more stuff, you know? And he's the collector, and, he's the curator.
Yeah, sure.
It'd be a fun little thing. Pair them together. I don't know if we had any questions related to the book or anything, but if we did, we could snag a few of those. Unless you had any other thoughts that we didn't get to cover, didn't get to cover yet about this. But let's see. I don't see anything from those two.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Andor, Force Awakens, Andor.
No, well, I think we're good on Force Collector.
Okay.
Good book. Want to see more of that character.
Yeah.
But I can also be patient. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's already one. I just don't know about it. I don't know.
Yeah. I did like the cover. So, like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, man, I hope, like, it'd be so cool to have the New Order movie and you see someone with, like, a backpack with a stormtrooper helmet, their stick and stuff, too.
And a green lightsaber.
Yeah, like, just something like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Which they talked about, like, I like that they had a helmet, and it was like, oh, this is a stormtrooper that got mind tricked one time, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it relates to anything specifically, but
I thought of Ezra.
Oh, that would be really cool.
A little bit.
That'd be like it's because I think he's talked about it, but they didn't show us anything with it. So, but I thought it was a fun nod to just stormtroopers having that happen a lot.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, that is the Force Collector. We are going to be having another book because that's what we do.
Yes, sir.
And Eric, I think, has the name of the next
book.
book.
Is going to be Most Wanted by Ray Carson. It is, at least from the cover, a Han Solo book, and Kira was on there as well. It takes place 13 BBY, which is it would be the same year that Han leaves Corellia before he goes to the Empire and stuff. So
okay,
I'm guessing it'll probably be stuff with the what was her name, Lady Proxima,
yeah,
and the Scrum Rats or whatever they were called. Maybe we'll have something about that.
Okay,
so this might get me. I'll probably have to read this book and watch Solo.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think Solo might be one of the newer movies that I've seen more, or at least I've put on more than any of the others. I haven't gone through the sequel trilogy with the kids still, so I've kind of just been like, well, I'm not gonna watch those again until I watch them with the kids, just to kind of like re-experience it with them. But yeah, I'll watch Solo again and go through that. So that'd be fun. Nexus apparently had a question about The Force Awakens, but I'm not sure what the question was. Let's see. You have yet to experience it much since it's mainly comics, but how did you feel getting into the First Order before The Force Awakens, when they're not regarded as the massive threat that they become.
Yeah.
I guess like I didn't think about that too much because like when I guess when they become a threat, like he already seemed kind of concerned about the First Order a little bit, and like they kind of have that still stormtrooper police force niche. Like when they came and took Maisie, I'm like, this seems like what stormtroopers would do, you know?
Yeah.
Like
but they're also like, good luck on your quest, kid.
Sure, they were like,
You know?
no, we're not for the ship, we're not for you, we're for her, we're taking her, you know.
But I mean, we know like. I guess whenever they're commanded by Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens and they come and they just destroy that village.
Yeah, on
you
Jakku,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. They're not very friendly there.
I think it was on Jakku, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, they it is an interesting time because they can't show their hand yet, right? They don't want people to know about Starkiller Base. I mean, the fatal flaw of the Death Star is people figured it out. Mm-hmm. And they figured it out because you're oppressing and being terrible and all this stuff. Whereas the First Order is like, well, let's hang out over here.
Yeah.
We'll steal some children.
Steal some children.
They take some kids.
Is this during the time, like, does Luke still have his, like, or is he missing during this? Like, does
He's missing. They're looking for him actively.
That's what they're trying to find with the idea of, like, Jedi and all that kind of stuff, right? With the
believe
First Order?
So. As we said, it's 2 years before the movie, but...
I don't remember how long he'd been missing, and I was like, well, Kylo Ren would be somewhere then, right?
Yeah.
Like, among the First Order.
Yeah.
So it's just, he's not here where we are right now.
I believe so. But, yeah, they do interrogate him, like, where is Skywalker?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, fun book, and, man, we talked a lot about it. It's already 4:20.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to talk about KOTOR,
We still got to
my
talk about
friend.
KOTOR.
Okay.
Which also, guys, if there's anything that you would want to question in about KOTOR, things that you would like to keep, things you would not want to have, and you'd like to change somehow, that's what we're going to be talking about with Knights of the Old Republic, if they actually do a remake. Because, like, I don't think it's on anymore.
Maybe they'll listen to this and be like, all right, just have these guys be in charge. No. So, yeah, we played KOTOR recently, so it's pretty fresh in both of our minds.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and start going through the list. I don't know if you got some stuff, too.
I have a couple things.
Okay.
You know?
I'm curious. What's your first one?
Well, because, like, I don't have mine in any kind of order
Me
or
either.
anything or nothing. Just some general ideas of what I want. One thing I want if they do a remake is I want them to I want it to be like the Final Fantasy VII a little bit. I want them to change some elements, and I want them to get it into the current canon. I want it to be like our gateway into the Old Republic.
You want an adaptation to fit into canon.
Yeah. So, like, if there's anything where it's like, well, this isn't really working anymore or whatever it is, like, I feel like there's enough wiggle room because we're always going to have the old KOTOR, right? I don't maybe have the same nostalgia other people do for it, but I love the story that I had with it, you know?
I mean, Darth Revan is canon to Disney now because the source book of Episode 9 mentions that there is a Revan battalion in the Sith army. And they're named after different Sith Lords.
They're named after Sith Lords, so there has to be...
Case,
there must have been a Revan of some sort.
Yeah.
Whether it's our Revan that we know or not, right?
Honestly, I think it would be perfect to do that because as much as I love the original game, like, one, it's not perfect. Two, it's a lot older. Like, it needs expanding. And three, like, that way you can still have surprises for people that played the original game. Mm-hmm. That game is amazing when you play it the first time. And, again, we said this before, but we're going to be spoiling the game talking about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about all kinds of stuff.
So this is your last chance. The Darth Revan twist is one of the coolest moments in gaming for me.
It's great.
And it's a solid Star Wars twist, you
Yes.
know? I think you have to keep that. You can't. I don't want to change that just to appease people that already know the thing.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, a lot of other things need to be new and fresh.
Sure.
Right?
See, that was going to be one of the things that I was going to ask because I was like, could we change the way the Revan reveal is? Could it be that Revan isn't even you, but maybe like someone in your team? Or is there another way of having a twist that still works similar but is different? Or should it stay that same general story?
I think it needs to say it needs to stay the general story. That's not to say it shouldn't change somewhat. Like one of mine on here is I love Darth Malik's look and performance. He doesn't really do much. He's not really fleshed out. I would keep that and have that personal connection with the main antagonist, but maybe make it a little less like, what if he regrets what he did to Revan? You know, like what if he like actually tempts you in a way that's, I think that you can do more interesting stuff. But right now, he's just kind of like evil bad guy number one.
Yeah,
you know?
You don't see him much.
No.
You get some random cinematics, right?
Yeah.
That kind of happen when you do stuff where he's over there.
Sure.
I think I agree with that. I think I'd like to have him involved somehow more or something.
Yeah.
But whenever he like doesn't have his little jaw thing on and stuff too, like just imagining that, but like that's a creepy thing, you know? It's kind of like whenever you take off like Vader's helmet and like he still has this and you just see that, like that's just what he is all the time. But like, oh man, what's Vader got? Like what's underneath the rest of this sometimes? Like that's exactly the Malik thing, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. But no, definitely one of mine is fleshing out Malik a lot more.
Malik
and I
more,
think if
okay.
you do that, you naturally kind of flesh Revan and his backstory out. And I think you got to keep that twist. I might add stuff like once you get that twist, or maybe even before, maybe add an element of psychometry to it, where like if you go to certain areas, you can actually relive some moments of Revan's. That could be cool. Which he kind of does a little bit when they reconnect.
Now, did you ever read the Revan book?
Yes, sir.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you think that should there be any of it included? Like, because there's story elements there where, if you guys don't know, I'm going to talk about the Revan book, so you get a little bit of extra book in this. In the Revan book, there's some elements where Malik and Revan were like they were both Jedi, I believe. They go to the Sith like emperor. Like they're heading that way to go and try to confront the Sith. Like
they're
empire.
fighting in the Mandalorian Wars, and they stumble upon the true Sith Empire.
Yeah, they find that and they go there, and in doing so, become Sith, become kind of like I don't know, their mind is changed and altered, and they come back as Sith, and that's how you get the Darth Revan and the Darth Malik.
Their primary motivation is to prepare the galaxy for the coming of the Sith.
Yeah. So like you get that element. Is that something that should maybe be pulled into something like this as well, or is that something like, you know, like?
See, I get exactly what you mean, and I don't want to go too far into this because I would also have a lot to say about how you include some KOTOR 2 stuff. And I want to keep your KOTOR 2
which I don't know any KOTOR
fresh
2 things.
because Aaron has never played, and a lot of us know KOTOR 2 has some of the best Star Wars moments ever.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I'm like, it's KOTOR 2, but I don't even know if it's like, is it really connected to KOTOR 1?
Yeah.
Like, you don't play Revan, I don't believe. Like, you don't have any of that kind of stuff.
But
you know,
Revan is integral.
Okay.
Despite not appearing.
and I don't think anything in it is covered within. I mean, maybe it is, but within the Revan book I read, like I kind of had an idea of what all happened roughly in the first KOTOR.
Yeah.
Just never experienced it, so I don't think the story elements I know too well through that.
Yeah. Just briefly though, I might have like some mention of Malachor, which is a thing that happens in KOTOR 2. But in terms of like the true Sith and what is coming with the Old Republic. I probably would I would have hints, but it wouldn't factor majorly. I think it's important to keep the story of this person that has no idea who he is and then discovers who he is and then decides that doesn't matter who I was. I am who I am now. Who are you? I don't know. What do my companions say about me? What do they see? Like, I think you flesh that type of thing out, and I think it's really good for the role play of it. Because one of my other changes is I want to, I would expand the build system of characters way more than it is currently right now.
Okay.
Like right now,
by build, like what? Okay.
Yeah.
The,
like
the,
right
the
now,
tree
if you want to play, T3, he's not that great. His stats aren't fantastic. He doesn't really get utilized too much. Like, and the only real special skill that matters is. What, being able to slice into things,
Yeah, slice, computer, droid repairs. He's usually pretty good at some of that stuff.
I think you need to have 12 more skills that more characters can have, expand it that way.
I would also, after, with Baldur's Gate, getting a character and you're like, you know what, I want to rebuild this character because instead of Canderous, he has a lot of strength because he's, a stronger guy, but I want him to use his, minigun.
And he's not spec'd to use his minigun, which seems like a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But then, even Baldur's Gate, some of their stats for the origin characters don't reflect their class great.
Sure.
I mean, they're okay.
They're
they're not spec'd for it.
Well, yeah, a lot of things aren't always min-maxed.
Yeah.
But I like to be able to adjust that if I want to,
Sure.
So I think that would be really cool to have. And also just, do you think expanding on, because I was debating on this. I feel like I'd want to either expand the planets because
Oh, yeah.
technology now, like there's so much more you can do,
There-
right?
they were
like,
limited
You've
back
played what's the new Star Wars Outlaws, right? Like, does it feel a lot bigger in the
yeah.
world than like what KOTOR has of like being on Tatooine? You know?
Absolutely. I mean,
like
it even has a primary speeder.
Yeah.
With it, so it has to be even bigger because you're going much faster.
Yeah. Or having like other places you can land. You know, let's land on Mos Eisley. Let's land at Mos Espa. Let's land at Anchorhead. Either that or having like a couple other planets, because there's definitely, at least playing the first KOTOR, like you said, you have to play through more than once if you want to really get some levels and some story elements for all your side characters. But if you had a little bit more where I can rotate out or play through these, like you can still have your favorites and you can still have a lot more extra side stuff.
Sure.
But you have a lot more room to be able to do some other quests and experience stuff with your companions, maybe.
Yeah.
I also would really like to shift a little bit on the combat system. One, I was thinking about it being...
I feel like this is going to be the spot where maybe me and you disagree, because I kind of love that combat system.
Maybe.
So when you say shift, what do you mean?
Well, one thing is I want the animations better.
Yes.
Right? I would love for like when... So I guess first off, I want to... I don't know if you ever played Fallout 3, but Fallout 3, you have two ways of doing combat. You can just... You're a first-person shooter, and you're just doing it that way. Or you can do what's the VAT system, where you kind of like pause time. You can like target body parts with certain weapons and stuff too, and then you can use like it's like skill points, which is basically just how much you can do in one turn.
Sure.
And you use those to like slow it down and be like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do this. And it's a little bit more. That might make it a little bit more like Baldur's Gate versus like Mass Effect, right?
Sure.
Mass Effect has more of that third person like combat aspect, but if you could pause it and then do it in a little bit more of a Baldur's Gate fashion, I'd like to do that, which it kind of has.
But
I
you want to...
I want to expand that a little bit,
Okay.
but then I also within that want the animations. When if I have kind of paused it in a turn-based combat thing, like in Baldur's Gate, like I'm like trying to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want those extra just random animations they do to be there, but then when you now do this one, okay, now go. I want those to be different flurries and expand from that initial one. And I think that would be really cool to do.
I want like my gunslinger characters to find cover.
Yeah.
You know, I want my
but maybe
my Wookiee to pick up people and throw them. Like I definitely want an expansion, but I would want to keep the dice based D&D like feel in there.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about that game, and I love Jedi Survivor and Jedi Outcast and all the games that are an action RPG, or an action adventure game where you have complete control of your character. But when I played KOTOR, like I would sit there for minutes and watch a lightsaber fight and not even touch the button sometimes.
Sure.
I would do that times 200.
Yeah.
It's like okay, give me 300 animations of a single versus single. Now give me 3 animations of a single versus a double, and then a double versus a double, and just keep doing that. Just bring some guys in to do some mocap, and I think that would be fucking awesome. Okay,
really cool.
Now give me one where it's one guy fighting 2 guys. Now your animation's different.
He's fighting both of them.
Yeah.
That would be really neat to do. Like, I know Final Fantasy VII made it less turn-based and more like action.
Yeah, it's more like I was reading some people's suggestions of what they would do, and that one apparently is like you charge up your abilities by doing smaller things.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So like maybe something like that could work, but also where you could pause or something like that too and do the turn-based. I just want like also. I hate, like, I love watching while it's happening and they're just doing their actions while it's kind of like, okay, now's the roll and now do I hit?
Yeah.
And now it's one of my moves.
Sure.
But in the in between time they're doing that. I would like them to do their little things while I'm paused, and that's just kind of like, okay, no one's really gaining any ground. Nothing's happening. We're just deflecting back and forth. The people with blasters are taking cover and maybe just taking shots,
Yeah.
and there's some blaster bolts flying through, but maybe nothing's hitting, It's just there's kind of like action on the scene.
Yeah.
While I'm like, what do I want to do?
You're waiting to think, and like, yeah, you might be losing a little bit of HP as you're firing at each other, but you want to do your big blaster shot. I want to do it now, and then you can like time things and use the turn-based system that way.
Yeah, because like I was just thinking, whenever I was playing, it'd be paused. I'm like, okay, And especially once I figure out, here's how I do the Q. All right, well, I want my character to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Let me switch to Bastila. Okay, now I want Bastila to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
But while I'm doing that, everything's just frozen.
Sure.
So I think during that time, while I'm like, okay, it's still turn-based, like, let there be the action on the scene so it feels like I'm just in a battle.
Yeah.
And, like, Basila's like, block, 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 you know? And, like, attack, attack, and, like, they're blocking. But there's no hits. There's nothing happening. It's not, like, real hits.
And there's not a ton of synergy between the characters. Like, I want to have Bastila force push a guy, and then in my next Q is Canderous hitting him. You know?
That could be
like,
cool.
have, like, characters combo in a turn-based system.
Sure.
Because when I play...
when I play D&D, right?
When I play in D&D, you know, before playing Baldur's Gate, you know, at home, when I play Baldur's Gate at home, I have a whole party, and I control the whole party, and the synergy is fun. So being able to do that in KOTOR would be a blast, man. There's another thing, too. Like, I think I want at least one more party member with me at all times. I know that BioWare said it was a restriction they had. Like, we can't have more than 2 party members with you. And I know you don't want to break the game or have too much. If it was up to me, which I do a mod for Baldur's Gate 3 where I have my whole party with me all the time.
It's too much.
It is too much. But I'll tell you what, have it be like 3 or 4 people with you, but for the Starforge, everyone comes. Because, damn, that was hard.
That would be cool.
Increase, give me 20 more Sith on screen too, sure. You know?
What I was hoping for in that was that I would play me.
Yeah.
But as I progressed, you were like, now I'm going past with Canderous and Karth, and they're with me now.
Yeah.
And now they got to stay here and defend this area. Because, like, you know how you get to Bastila and, like, the door shut?
Yeah.
And now those 2 aren't with you?
Yeah.
If it was like that, but throughout the whole Starforge or whatever, where, like, the whole team's here, why am I only taking 3 of us?
Yeah.
But it's only in segments where, like, I have these 2 now.
Sure.
Now I have, you know, T3 and HK. Like, pair them up or trio them up or whatever, and just have, like, all of them are there, but it changes as you're going through. So, like, your party, there's a reason why they're with your party in the way the Starforge story is happening or something. Like, okay, well, we're going to go take care of this. You guys go this way. It's like, I got to get to, you know, Malik. I think that would be a real cool way to do, like, something like that.
Cool.
Where
you
there's a
could,
story
like,
element.
split the party, I suppose,
yeah,
too.
because then, like, you get everybody in there, and it feels like everyone's doing things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like, or you get to a point, and it's kind of the same of picking who's going to break you out of prison. Where it's like, okay, we need people to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And, like, you're choosing where people go, and then because of your play, well, now when I got to go stop the shield generators, here's who I'm going to see. And when I have to go and actually confront Malik, well, the Jedi are going to be there with me, you know? Like, you're picking who's going to do, okay, we're going to start off in the very beginning, and we have to, like, I don't know, just stop these turbo lasers.
Yeah.
Well, I better take T3 with me to disable the turbo lasers, and I'm going to need some muscle. I'm going to take Canderous with me, you know? Or Zalbar or whatever.
There's this really cool part, I won't spoil it, this is just a gameplay design thing for Mass Effect. In one of the ending of a game, where, like, you have all these roles, and you're going to utilize your whole party. But, like, you know, okay, I need someone to do this and this and this. And if you don't know your characters well, you don't know, like, hey, this person would be better off doing that job than this person, because if you get that wrong, they could die.
Oh, dang.
You know?
Okay.
So I kind of that's kind of what you're talking
and
about.
And that's BioWare. You
It
know?
is BioWare.
So they already have experience doing that.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be really cool then.
So
like,
that would be fun. Like,
mix
you
that
don't want
together.
to send Canderous on the, hey, go hack this piece of information. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And he just shoots the, you know.
Yeah. I don't know how to hack.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen.
And then you just don't get the thing that you're meant to get.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, like,
That would
I
be
feel
cool.
like I've played a game at some point where, like, there was something like that where a lot of your team was there, but they were with you, but it wasn't like you had to control everything either.
No.
All at the same time.
That's
or
one of my
nothing.
favorite things about the game is, like, you can just play your character and the other guys will do stuff.
Yeah.
But make that a little bit more robust. Make them be a little smarter, act a little, you know.
I would also upgrade the scripting, which, I mean, I'm sure they would do, but there was only so many options in KOTOR. But, like, playing Kingdom Hearts, like, you have Donald and Goofy with you all the time.
Sure.
You can change a lot of elements of, like, well, how often are they going to use items? How often are they going to use maybe healing items? How often do they use magic spells? Are they defensive? Are they aggressive?
Yeah.
And you can really adjust them a lot more on how they play. Because, like, if I want Bastila to be more of a backline, you know, healer or something like that, where, like, she's going to heal and throw her lightsaber and do more range stuff, like, I don't want her to be up in the front all the time doing that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I think Jolie might be kind of that character. I forget. But one of them is a little bit more, like, I forget Sentinel and which one was. One of them's more range.
She's a Sentinel.
Consular and Guardian.
Jolie
Guardian's tank.
Is a Consular, and then Guardian is the Cathar.
The Cathar Juhani.
I don't know why I still wanted to say Jolie, but that's Jolie. Johanna, yes.
Yeah. So the Guardian's a little bit more tank-like, I think.
Yeah, they're like frontline.
The Consular, I think, is a little bit more like...
You're more of your mage.
Yeah. Like I would like to be able to set them up to be like, don't try to melee, use more range stuff, and do this and this and this.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to make them a Force user that does that, but they also have a blaster. That could be really cool to do. So having that flexibility would be really cool to have.
I definitely want to be able to flesh out the other roles that aren't Jedi, because I feel like as soon as you become a Jedi...
I better take Jedi.
You drop everything. Like you're more likely to bring the Force users with you.
There's no point in me taking guns.
Yeah, I mean, you only really bring out mission and T3 because like I just haven't done anything with them. You make it more valuable.
Yeah.
I like your idea of like assigning like different behaviors for your characters. Like maybe when a grenade gets close to Bastila, she'll like jump out of the way, and maybe Jolie, when a grenade gets close to him, he force pushes it.
Yeah.
So an enemy can do that, but I could also have like Karth throw a grenade at Jolie, and then he'll force push it, so your grenade goes even further. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those kind of things would be really neat to do. I don't know if I have a lot of other ones.
Yeah, I have a small list here. I want less comically evil dark side path dialogue. I think that a game like this and a dark side run only works if it's believable. And there's a couple times, and I felt this with Baldur's Gate 2, it's like, that's ridiculous, what you just said. Like, that's not a Palpatine line. That's not a Maul line. That's not a Vader line. That's
You're just bad to be bad.
Yeah, that's like, make it tempting to do a dark side dialogue. Make it be like, oh, I thought that was the right thing to do. It wasn't because of this, because you didn't think about this, or you didn't see this thing. So that's one of my big critiques of the game. Is that the dark side dialogue feels kind of like, we'll do the real story, and then we'll do like the fake bad story. Is what it feels like to me. You know?
Sure.
Or I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased, but I kind of feel that way. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, there are two huge weaknesses that we had playing it, and one of them was every time you would jump to a new planet, every once in a while you're going to get into a thing where there's enemy fighters, and it's one of the most boring parts of the game. What would you do with the Ebon Hawk? Would you do anything different?
I like those to an extent, but like I would like to make it. Well, I guess it depends. If you can fly off planet, if you have any of that, or is it just like when you're on planet and then you're on the Ebon Hawk?
Sure.
The other thing is like, you remember how every once in a while bounty hunters would show up in like Fallen Order, right? Mm-hmm. And then like if you got captured, you got sent to one place.
Yeah.
Like that was like a special little event thing. I would also make it where it's like maybe not every time you go to space.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it's not every time, but let's say 1 out of 3 times you go to space, those fighters showed up, right? Well, what if 1 out of 3 times, like sometimes that happens, but like maybe 1 out of 10 times of them showing up, instead it is a frigate, like a Star Destroyer kind of thing, or something, cool. Or bounty hunters, or something a little varying. Instead of it just being like, here's 6 Sith fighters, and you got to shoot them out of the sky, and you move on.
Yeah.
There was something we talked about similar with Outlaws, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was a similar idea where I'm like, dude, imagine like, I know what it was. It was when we were talking about Death Troopers. I was like, imagine at some point, like, if Cal got arrested as a bounty hunter or stormtroopers and is on a prison shuttle, like, in that you were Han Solo was there, right?
Yeah.
He didn't know what was happening on the rest of the ship. Imagine being Han and you got captured by stormtroopers. Like in the same sense of this, what if you got captured and all of a sudden like you're on a small little quest mission of getting off this ship, whether it's zombies or not.
Yeah.
Like just having that knowledge, like what the heck? Like someone opens up like, look, there's a virus. You're one of the few people left alive. Will you help me get off this ship? And they're like, well, yeah, I don't want to be here either.
Cool. Yeah.
Like just having maybe some kind of random moments like that where it just changes it up a little bit, and it's not always like kill 5 Sith fighters and now you get to go where you want to go. I would do that. You could also make it where you can fly and put them on the gunner maybe.
Like I certainly would change the time trial race to just a race.
Oh, a race
for the speeder, the pod stuff.
Okay.
I feel like the time trial thing just doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, I understand what it's for, but it feels like it's a limitation of the software as opposed to like, no, we wanted it to be this way.
Sure. You can't do a real pod race kind of thing. So instead, we just one person, and you got to beat these times.
So I feel like I definitely would change that. But in terms of the space, I just was interested in what you would say, because that would be a massive change, and one that I don't think is even really needed, because all the stuff I love about KOTOR has nothing to do.
It is not my favorite part. It's not my
the
favorite
Ebon
part.
Hawk looks cool.
Yeah.
But it never ever does anything cool.
Yeah.
You know, other than this being the device that the story device of it being the former owner, we take it from him.
Yeah.
You know,
like maybe you could control the ship. Does Outlaws let you control the ship? It does, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Like
yes,
maybe
sir,
some
does.
stuff like that where it's like I'm leaving a planet. Like, do I get to like? There's what's it called? It was a Switch game that had Star Fox, Starlink maybe.
Mm-hmm.
In that one you could like you exit the planet and you get into space, like you pass the clouds and you enter space, and now you're just flying through space. There's asteroids and different things, and you would, all right, well, I want to go to that planet, so I'm going to hit it and go into hyperspace kind of thing and go that way. Like doing some of that kind of stuff could be really cool, just to kind of like change it up and let there be like a little extra mechanic area that you could do. And if it's like, well, I want to fly or I want to do the guns or whatever, maybe you could pick and choose which way you want to do it or something, because as Luke being a gunner, that could be really cool, or Han being the pilot. Like, what role of that would I want to do? But I do like the idea of just changing it up, where at least at the minimum, don't make it the exact same thing every time. Like, just make it something a little bit different. Maybe you get stuck in a tractor beam and now you have to escape this thing. But they also had a prison break, so I understand maybe we better not use the prison break too early. So.
The other thing, major flaw, is obviously the spacesuit and underwater suit on Manon.
Especially when you miss something, you gotta go back.
I kept trying to brainstorm. Okay, how do we change that from the worst part of the game to the best part of the game? Like, it's got to, like, the movement is just so slow, and it just feels like you're just wasting your time. And there was that part where you messed up and you had to go back, and because you went back, you had to go back from there. And it was just torture.
It was.
How do you make that, like, I don't know, you can jump, but you jump like 100 feet in the air because you're in space, I don't know.
Yeah. The space thing, like, I think, like, maybe making that part a little bit more astronaut-y, where, like, you get less gravitational pull, so that one step is 5 steps. You know what I mean?
Have an attack happen out there, and then you have to have someone on the Ebon Hawk coming in defending you, and then you're running through a battle or something. I don't know. You gotta do something.
Just make it a little bit more
That
exciting.
part sucks.
I do think it's kind of funny too. Of people, I remember people talking about, like, man, technology doesn't really change. When, like, here's the Old Republic, up to, like, here's where you are with Luke Skywalker. And it's like not a lot of stuff really changes between that for technology and stuff too. But there's some smaller things, like I know, like holocron, like holograms and stuff change. They get color, things like that. But if you think about Clone Wars,
whoa,
dang, hard. I'm gonna call you Hard.
Thank you, Hard.
Thank you, Hard, so much.
Hard ISP 73.
Give us some sub-hype and gonks for him. Thank you for the gifted subs. But if you think about Clone Wars, when they go underground or underwater, they have suits like Anakin and Padme. Like, they're wearing suits. They're much smaller than they are in this one. And I was like, you know what? That's one of the technologies that got progressed and did better over time. Like, maybe they've already kind of perfected, when you kind of get like, hey, this works really well. Sometimes the technology of a certain thing doesn't change too much over a time frame, right? Because like now where we're at with like stuff with cell phones, like I saw like some cell phones they're coming out with now are going back to what they looked like in like the early 2000s,
right?
And I'm like, what? It's like, do we not have much more progression that we want to do with this? It's just a bigger screen or whatever now. So like some things I think like spaceships, like, well, now just change the model, add some extra features, but most of it looks the same. But they don't do a lot of underwater stuff, Like, that's probably not something they dealt with a lot. And now it got better in the Clone Wars. Maybe to get better, I don't know what Luke would wear. They didn't have they probably didn't have the A24 breathers. Is that what they were? AA24.
A quad rebreather.
They didn't have those. Back during.
They did not.
Give me those.
I
give
just need that.
Give me that. Give me
Sure,
that. Let me
I
use
get
lightsabers.
you.
That's what I'll use. Give me some aquata breathers. That'd be great.
Agreed.
No suit.
No suit. Aaron, every time we do a Badonkagonk, I think I think we'll have enough to talk about, and every time we get to about right now, it's like I have so much more to say. I'll go through some of the stuff. I think at the very least, throw in cross-guard lightsabers. You know, they're kind of meant to be more of like an ancient style.
Well,
if this is still 4,000 years or where we want to make it.
Sure.
There should be way more cross guards.
We saw one in Rebels, right?
Saw one in Rebels.
In the idea of trying to change it and make it fit a little bit more into canon.
And
I think that would make sense. You know, like you could take some stuff with that and do some things there. So yeah, why not do that?
Yeah,
I have no problem doing that.
Sure.
Also, like changing up some stance stuff too, so that like dual wielding, double bladed saber, single bladed saber, like making sure all of them feel like you know.
And
they were great in Survivor, and they felt like they are all unique and different for different purposes.
Absolutely, and they should all have unique animation choreography for whenever it's just all right. What am I gonna do? And you're just fighting.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, do that.
And this is me. This is another thing I'm borrowing from Baldur's Gate 3, but add a combat log for the turn-based system. I did not understand how Baldur's Gate 3 worked until I really delved deep into the combat log and being able to like put my mouse over it and see what this is actually doing with the roll, the modifier, where that modifier is coming from, like all that stuff.
Okay.
It was just a fantastic learning experience for me. And there's still things that confuse me in KOTOR and how they work.
Gotcha.
So some type of combat log I think is essential.
Okay.
Just having it like in the corner that you can expand would be good for me.
I remember some kind of log, but I don't think it was combat in the pause menu. It might have been just dialogue.
I think it's just dialogue.
A dialogue.
Of course, I want some type of codex or database or something that's a little bit more intimate in there.
I would make it easier to sort through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I was like, oh, shoot, what was that new thing I just picked up? And I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
Like, getting through some of that would be good.
Yep. I absolutely I love I love the story of the Jedi literally just like, all right, we're taking Darth Raven, we're going to erase his memory. This is super unethical. You know, I love that the Jedi do that. I don't love how, like, when they bring him back, it's like, all right, let's train him up. And then your training is like a 10-second montage, and now you can use a lightsaber and you can use force powers. Granted, they're not as powerful, but you look like you know what you're doing compared to the end of the game still. I would maybe have a little bit more robust training area on Dantooine.
Okay. When you say robust, like, what do you mean?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would want to expand it out, but I just feel like it just feels weird to me that it's like, okay, so now you know you've been using blasters and stuff, and then here's a 10-second cutscene, and now you can do that. Like Jedi Outcast has this moment where like Kyle's lady is taken by a Darksider. He hasn't used the Force in years.
Sure.
He goes back to Yavin, and Luke is like, okay, if you want your lightsaber so that you can fight this guy, I hid it in the temple. Go get it. He goes out in the temple, and he has to slowly learn everything back and do this type of thing. It feels like a really cool earned moment. When you get your saber back, you have some power, and you're ready to go out and do some stuff. I've always kind of felt like the KOTOR version of that was just like 10-second cutscene, now it moves on. And I just didn't – it never really rang true with me a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense now knowing that, well, Revan, his neural pathways are still in there. He's a gifted student, so it makes sense that he can pick this up super quick.
Yeah.
But the character might the motivation of the central character I always thought was kind of weird. Like, does he just assumes he's just fucking awesome all the time? You know, I don't know.
Well, he doesn't have to be awesome. Like you said, too,
Yeah.
like he also gets better with the perks and stuff you get as you go.
does.
I also think all of Dantooine is still his training. Like when they send you out to go and help people on Dantooine, I think you're still like it's easier stuff you're dealing with.
They're like
typically,
more dilemmas and stuff. Sure.
Yeah, like I think some of that kind of stuff is also, and there's that one murder where you're there with another Jedi who's also helping you. And
I
stuff
think
too,
you got to do all that stuff times 10. You got to make the worlds a little bit bigger. You got to have more stories. You know.
Sure.
Keep some of the fun ones that are there, but just do that way more.
From a player's perspective, though, I also want my lightsaber. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't. We did it when we played, where it's like, okay, we're gonna go through Terrace. We're not gonna level, so that we get more Jedi levels later. Which if we push that back further, there's gonna be fewer levels I get as a Jedi. Because like there's still gonna be a cap, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's gonna cap at something.
There's a great mod that's called Jedi from the beginning. It does like it just makes it so that you can be a Jedi at the beginning of the game, and then it also has like a couple little dialogue things to make a little bit more sense lore wise.
Sure.
But I mean I don't know.
Some of those things I would also maybe do as I mean, the mods they're gonna be as for players like adding and stuff, but like I've always thought of Pokemon like a Nuzlocke. The first time you play your Pokemon game, probably don't do a Nuzlocke. But if Pokemon was going to introduce Nuzlocks in a new game plus kind of thing, like, oh, well, now you know what? You can just be a Jedi from the beginning if you want to play through again. And then that way you can level differently or whatever. But they want you to experience that first story element. And then you can get the extra random things. And that stuff I think would be cool if they were to add in some kind of like modification aspect to it or anything. Where you can change things up a little bit. If you want to bring all your companions, it's like, well, maybe you can do that in New Game Plus.
Sure.
But you can't do it in the first one because we want to like be able to like craft the story a bit more and have it a little bit more focused on certain things.
The only thing I don't like with our run is like, if you want to get like really awesome vital parts of the story, you just need to happen to have the right character with you when that happens, right? Like we had to ask the chat, like, guys, who should we have right now?
Well, but what do you consider a vital part of the story? Because I don't think any of those are vital parts of the story, right? Like Mission's brother is not a vital part of the story. It's just Mission's story.
True, right? But I guess I'm also kind of one of my last ones here is I would love to be able to change the alignment of our characters. Like as I make choices, I affect Bastila or I affect Canderous. I can make Canderous a lot. Because Canderous isn't a good person. You know, he talks a lot about being like, oh, yeah, I slaughtered them all. They all died under my hoot. Like, can you make him better? Can you make him worse? Can you
make Karth worse?
Can you make Jolie worse? Can you make everybody have red lightsabers?
Maybe.
Can I spread the Rakghoul plague to other planets? You know, like, can you do stuff like that? I don't know. But what was the previous point I had before I brought up the alignment thing?
Talking about characters and you're missing their vital storylines.
Yeah. Like, Bastila's mother stuff. Like, if you do that, you might be able to, like, help her alignment a little bit more or something. But I say all that being like, oh, it annoys me knowing that's there, and then I don't get it in my first run or the second run. I love the idea that the Old Republic did whenever you would have you're doing the multiplayer, obviously, and you want to talk, or you're in a dialogue, your companions will show up in Holo. And be part of the dialogue.
The fellow players.
Your fellow players, not your companions. But I'm borrowing that and being like, well, it would be kind of cool if maybe you can just have like a holo turn on if they have something interesting to say or something. But that's a lot lower on my list.
Gotcha.
In terms of priorities. It's just the reason the only reason I use that Baldur's Gate mod with all of my party is like I want all the content.
Yeah,
this game has to offer.
Some of your changes are your immersion and your greed of lore and story.
Absolutely.
Of like, I want it like these so I can do it and have it all.
That's the only way my list is unique. Because I looked at a lot of people saying like what they would thought, and I'm like, that would be cool. There's other ones I saw, and I'm like, please no, like don't change it to an action adventure game. I think the RPG element is vital to this game. I mean, I think there's a reason.
Is it vital?
Because I was looking, and there's a lot of people like that have really strong opinions on like, no, the combat's boring, and I want to change it. And it felt like the majority of people were like, I love that combat. Don't change a thing. I would change some stuff, but I would keep the spirit of it alive. Because again, that was at least for me, that was like the first time I played a game like that, and it's stuck in my brain for 20 years.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've grown more on Baldur's Gate. Liking the way it plays, so like maybe you could make it more like that.
Sure.
Where your movements and everything, like it is much more turn-based though.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I like the idea of like, because KOTOR, it is turn-based, but it has a higher pace than just turn-based sometimes. Like, let me design a turn with all of my party at once, and then hit play on my plan. And maybe my plan doesn't work, or maybe like in that turn my enemies do something that messes it up, and then I have to reconfigure and re-strategize and plan my next turn with everybody at once.
That's kind of what I did with the queuing, right?
Yeah.
You pause it, you queue up what you want, and then play, and let's see if it all works out.
I think there's some magic there that can
again.
make it feel really interesting. And then you really rely on your animation systems, especially with the lightsabers, to make it feel different from every other game, which is my lightsaber actually doesn't cut people. I hit them, but they're just like, and then their health goes down a little bit. I think you can do this system where like I'm attacking somebody and I never actually touch them with my lightsaber until they die. But I can have like, their health bar goes down because I had an especially good hit that like nicked them or something,
Sure.
I think that there's a way of having that system make the lightsabers feel like an actual lightsaber as opposed to a baseball bat.
Most games don't usually make it feel like a lightsaber, I don't think.
And it's only really, for me...
But also, that's probably, like, Disney or kid-friendly or, you know, like, versus, like, cut off all your limbs and stuff, you know?
Best lightsaber gameplay is Jedi Outcast, and it's only that way when you do a cheat because it was too graphic. But the developer's like, but it's so good. It's like, well, we can't. It's like, oh, we can't, huh?
Yeah, as a cheat, though, because then that's like a loophole.
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor, I thought, was better with it.
It has a really cool like parry system and stuff like that. They definitely felt better. The Force Awakens, not Force Awakens, the Force Unleashed feels very baseball bat to me. You know?
Sure.
And to an extent, you know, when I'm seeing like you use the flurry rush thing and you go 1, 2, 3 and KOTOR, and I'm like, shouldn't they just have, you know, slashes across their chest and be dead? You know? But if it was like do the flurry rush and then the guy's, you know, my enemy is like blocking it, but because his HP is going down, he's actually blocking it worse each time. And then I work him down, and then you stab him in the chest, and that's the end of the battle, you know?
Gotcha.
I think you could do something like that.
You're turning the HP into more like a stamina bar in a way,
yeah.
where it's like now they're getting too tired to withhold or whatever. And
I think that'd be good. That could be cool.
Yeah.
It, at least for me, would make the lightsabers feel a little bit more dangerous than just more conventional HP knocking off sticks, you know?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your last thing on your list?
I think so.
We covered mine earlier on, I think, with most of it, and then, but a lot of mine were also like kind of in the idea of like the game mechanics and like the canon, the lore, like elements of those.
Yeah.
I don't think we have time to get to questions.
Wait, how many were there? We could have get to all of them.
We could try
if
to
there's
see
only
if
one,
there
we
was
could get to
one
all
or
of them.
two for maybe. Let's see, anything about KOTOR. Alice said, speaking of changes to Star Wars, not specifically KOTOR, but Episode 3.
No, do it. Episode 3.
Battle of Heroes and the Jedi versus Palps. Would you want to change that back to the original ideas before George ruined them?
Ruined them? I don't know what the original ideas were. I don't know what you mean.
The only thing I would change in Episode 3 would be the Palpatine versus Mace and everyone else's fight, but I don't know. I don't know about.
Okay. They're talking about like you're talking about like the release footage of what that fight used to be like. There's release footage of Anakin versus Dooku in Episode 3. That's way
really
different. And then the Palpatine thing, because Lucas came in and was like, "You need to see Ian McDermott's face. I want him to do everything." Liam Neeson did it. Why can't 80-year-old
this old guy over here?
Yeah. Okay, I understand what you mean. That was ruined there. Yeah.
I would. That's the only fight. Is that Jedi fight in Episode 3 that I would change. Everything else I think I'm pretty good with.
Levi asked, best sound in Star Wars for me, it's between Luke's green lightsaber or the N1 Starfighter engine.
I love X-Wing blasters. Whenever I was playing Fortnite and like I would shoot, and I was like, I was like, oh gosh. It took me back to Rogue Squadron when I was playing and like flying an X-Wing. And oh man, it's so cool.
I quite like Padme's blaster sound in Episode 1. And I really love, I'm cheating, the seismic charge because it's no sound and then a lot of sound in Episode 2. Those would be my favorites.
Gotcha. All right, one more. We have Fabuccino. Since they made a second Death Star and more, do you think Calkite was just an excuse to make an example of Gorman or even part of the Galen's flaw?
Yeah, so the Calkite that they're getting off of Gorman and Andor, I don't know. I mean, it took so long from the end of Episode 3 all the way to Episode 4 when that sucker turns on for the first Death Star to be made. And then the second one, they made it in a couple years.
Sure. Well, I think they were working on it beforehand, right?
100%.
They had to be. Heck, they were working on Starkiller Base.
They 100% were, but most people don't know that, you know. But did they need Calkite for the second one as well?
Probably.
I'm going to say yes, and they just found it somewhere. I mean, I don't know if Gorman's the only place or the convenient place.
I mean, how much did they get off Gorman? Like, I mean, they do the Gorman stuff in Andor, and I assume get and start taking what they want.
You're
know?
right. I mean, Gorman's an entire planet, whereas a Death Star is the size of a very small moon. So it's not like they got all of it, probably. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we don't see how much they like. Do they stop? Do they mine it to death? You know, is Gorman still around when Palpatine dies in Episode 9? You know, like I don't know. It might be. So I think that Calkite was probably important for all that. Maybe even Starkiller Base. I don't know. It's possible. It could have been used for that for something.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. It is past 5, so we are going to have to take more questions next time.
One day.
So
we'll
keep in mind your questions, and we'll talk about those actually on July
10th. July 10th, we're going to be covering Most Wanted by Ray Carson, so make sure you're reading your book assignment, your homework for Badonkagonk. And if not, you can always just come in and listen in, but it's always going to be a much more enjoyable conversation if not only you're reading it, but you come with questions and stuff.
Yes.
And that can really make the discussions a lot more robust.
Yeah. Also, guys, don't forget, over on blindwave.com, our Wave Squadron shirts are now available for everybody. We've had these, I think, since like Star Wars Celebration, maybe, that we went to in
the
London.
last celebration
in London.
we had these.
But we haven't actually had them available for everybody, and they are now available online. So if you want to get a Wave Squadron shirt, you can join Wave Squadron with blindwave.com. So go check that out. Anything else I'm missing? I think that's everything.
I think
right?
that's all, my
friend. We said the book. We said the date. We had a good discussion on this book. So bye, everybody. Oh, Gonk's dying. Bye.